and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 battle report brought to you by the Legion Wargaming. You may remember that the Imperial authorities called in the Raven Guard chapter of Space Marines to drive out a tendril of Hive Fleet Kraken from this planet. But the Tyranids were victorious in defending their nests, and all the Space Marine assault has done has encouraged the Tyranids to devour the whole planet. Suddenly, Imperial bases throughout the wilderness find themselves under attack by swarms of Tyranid organisms pouring out from their hidden nests. The scenario today is from the 6th edition Warhammer 40,000 rulebook, and it is the Blood of Martyrs. The Tyranids will be sweeping in across these foothills and across this plain into this Imperial base. The guardsmen, manning the defensives, simply have to survive. The Tyranids will have 1,500 points. The guardsmen will be defending with 1,000 points, but they can rig some of their terrain with high explosive to blow and give the Tyranids a nasty, nasty surprise. Let's take a look at the Tyranid swarm that is going to overrun this base. This 1,500 point Tyranid army is a single combined arms detachment led by a Hive Tyrant with wings and the miasma cannon, and he has brought with him a scuttling swarm of 30 termagants, and that allows the Tyranids to bring a single Tervigon as a troop's choice, and he has cluster spines and electro-shock grubs. Fast attack, the Tyranids have bought 2 broods of 6 Raveners, all with rending claws, and a Hive Crone. And in their 2 heavy support slots they have bought a Trigon Prime, and to pop up under the base and cause some mayhem, a Morlock. Let's take a look at the Imperial Guard base defenders. This 1,000 point Imperial Guard army is a single combined arms detachment, and as you can see, this base is quite well manned, as is usual for the Imperial Guard. The army is led by a company command squad, and the officer has brought with him a las cannon team, a Vox, a melter gun, and 2 advisors, a Master of Ordnance and an Officer of the Fleet. There is also an independent priest, and the first troop's choice is a massive squad of Imperial Guard, led by their platoon command squad, which has 3 melter guns and a Vox, and a massive combined squad of 50 Imperial Guardsmen. In this massive squad, which consists of 5 infantry squads, there is 1 Vox and 5 Flamers. And the platoon also has 2 special weapon squads, each with 3 plasma guns, and a heavy weapons squad with auto cannons. The second troop's choice in this combined arms detachment is a squad of hardened veterans, and they have bought a las cannon team with them, along with 2 melter guns. And flying in to relieve the base is a single Vendetta gunship. Let's see if these guardsmen can defend their base, or at least survive the day. Moving on to deployment. The armies have deployed. The Imperial commander has ordered his huge combined squad of guardsmen led by their priest to hold the barricades. He himself is personally overseeing the defence from this bunker. He has his las cannon team scanning for targets, and in the central bunker the platoon command squad are ready to move to intercept any threats with their melter guns, backed up by the hardened veterans with their las cannon and melters. The autocannon teams have taken up a commanding firing position in the watchtower, and far over on the Imperial right, the far barricade is manned by a special weapon squad with plasma guns. And the guardsmen are looking out across the plain on a swarm of red and bone as the Tyranids come scurrying and leaping towards their barricades. Tyranids have deployed their large screen of gaunts in front of the Trygon Prime and the Flying Hive Tyrant and the Flying Hive Crone. The Morlock is getting ready to burrow, and the Tervigon is offering synapse control to both broods of Raveners on the Tyranid left. In accordance with the rules of the scenario, the Tyranids will be going first unless the Guard can seize the initiative. Let's see. The Imperial Guardsmen failed to seize the initiative and the Tyranid line has come scuttling forward. The Termagants and the Trygon Prime are moving up. The Hive Crone and the Wing Hive Tyrant both took to the air and they are swooping towards the Imperial Guardsmen manning the barricades. The rest of the line has also moved forward, with the central Tervigon spawning a new brood of 10 Termagants, and he has not run out, he has more to spawn. The Raveners on the far left are moving forward as fast as they can, looking to overrun the solitary Imperial Guard plasma gun squad. In the psychic phase, the Hive Tyrant summoned up a wave of power from the Hive Mind. He threw paroxysm onto the huge squad of Imperial Guard infantry, and they have had their weapon skill and ballistic skill reduced to 1. The Hive Mind obviously decided that that was a very, very effective tactic, as the Tervigon followed up and did exactly the same to the platoon command squad sheltering in the central bunker. It's been a very, very aggressive opening move from the Tyranid swarm. They are almost at the defences already. Let's see how they get on in their first shooting phase. End of Tyranid turn 1 shooting phase, and the Gaunts and the Trygon Prime continued to close the distance, running at the barricades, as did the smaller brood of Gaunts that were spawned by the Tervigon. The Hive Crone unleashed its dual cannon, melting 6 of the guardsmen behind the barricades, and the Hive Tyrant unleashed the miasma cannon, felling another 8. As the Tervigon came lumbering up, he unleashed a volley of cluster spines which took out 1 more guardsman. But this huge combined squad are fearless. They are still led by their priest. They are standing firm. We have an assault to go in. The Raveners are going to try and overrun the far end of the Imperial Guard defensive line. Going in to Tyranid turn 1 assault phase. End of Tyranid turn 1 assault phase, and both broods of Raveners came slithering up to the barricade, but the guardsmen kept their heads and they blew apart one Ravener with their plasma guns on overwatch and wounded another with their las guns. Unfortunately for the guardsmen though, the sheer weight of attacks tore them to pieces, and the Raveners are feasting on their remains. Unfortunately, in their excitement, the far brood of Raveners have moved out of synapse range, so it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do in the next Tyranid turn. This brings Tyranid turn 1 to a close. It's been very, very effective. Let's see how the guardsmen respond going into Astra Militarum turn 1. End of Astra Militarum movement phase turn 1, and even the priest has seen that they do not have a chance of maintaining their position at the front line behind these barricades. So they have pulled back into a second defensive line. They are still in a very strong position. The rest of the Imperial Guard garrison have held their positions. The autocannons, the veterans, the platoon command squad, although that is still suffering from the effects of paroxysm, and the company command squad. There's a lot of firepower to come out of this guard line. Let's see what they do in their first shooting phase. End of Astra Militarum, turn 1 shooting phase, and their officers and sergeants ordered their men to look to the skies and bring down the monstrous flying creatures. An absolute blizzard of lasgun fire erupted from the guardsmen, leaving the Hive Tyrant with only 1 wound left after he was hit by many lasgun shots, and the crone was also wounded by shots from the platoon command squad sheltering in their bunker. Unluckily for the guardsmen, both of the Tyranid flyers did manage to pass their grounding checks, but still, that volley of fire from the guard has given the hive mind something very worrying to think about. With no assaults, we move into Tyranids turn 2. End of Tyranid turn 2 movement phase, and the turn opened with the Far Raveners, who were out of synapse range, failing their instinctive behaviour test. But following their base urges suits the purposes of the hive mind anyway. They are moving forward and they are in a killing frenzy. The other brood of Raveners has moved forward to take on the platoon command squad hiding in their bunker, whilst the Tervigon has been ordered by the hive mind to move over to see if he can bring the wayward Raveners back under control of the hive mind. The swarm of Gaunts continues to move up towards the barricades, and behind them, slithering up, is the massive form of the Trygon Prime. Both of the Tyranid flyers are lucky to still be airborne, and they are zooming over the heads of the guardsmen, swooping down, and the Hive Tyrant decapitated the company command squad's melter gunner as he flew past. The Hive Crone had eyes only for the company commander, but his refractor field protected him from the grasping claws of the beast. And finally, the Morlock has burrowed underground. He is looking to tunnel up underneath the guardsmen and eat as many of them as he can. Moving in to Tyranid turn 2 shooting phase. End of Tyranid turn 2 shooting phase, but first the flying Hive Tyrant once again cast paroxysm on the large squad of Imperial Guardsmen, and then followed it up by casting onslaught on the scuttling swarm of 30 termagants who came running over the barricades, and then unleashed their flesh borers on the huge squad of guard, combining their fire with the smaller squad of Gaunts and the Tervigon. 9 more guardsmen from the big squad have fallen. The Hive Crone and the Flying Hive Tyrant unleashed a storm of acid and drool all over the parapet that was occupied by the company command squad, felling both of the regimental advisors, the officer of the fleet and the master of ordnance, and the las cannon team and the Vox operator, leaving the company commander standing on his own. But he has passed morale. He is determined to stand his ground against the hideous alien monsters. We have a couple of assaults to do. The Raveners are going to try and do what they do best. Going into Tyranid assault phase turn 2. End of Tyranid turn 2 assault phase, and as the Raveners slithered towards the autocannon teams, the guardsmen opened fire on them, wounding a Ravener, but the ramparts proved too much and the Raveners failed their charge. Their sister brood, however, easily made it into assault with the platoon command squad. And although the brave guardsmen once again caused a couple of wounds on the Raveners, they were torn to shreds by an absolute hurricane of rending attacks, bringing Tyranid turn 2 to a close and going into Astra Militarum turn 2. End of Astra Militarum turn 2 movement phase, and thankfully for the guardsmen their Vendetta gunship has come, zooming over the horizon and is flying low over the base, tracking 4 targets. The special weapon squad with plasma guns that were manning this bunker have decided that the Tyranids are now getting a little bit close for comfort. They have pulled back next to the veterans, who have held position ready to give fire. The priest and the remnants of the large guard infantry squad, although there is still a lot of them left, have moved into the colonel's bunker to protect their beloved commanding officer and to see if they can take out the flying Tyranid monsters once again. Let's see how the guard do in their second shooting phase. End of Astra Militarum shooting phase turn 2, and a cry of dismay echoes out across the Imperial Guard's defensive line as the Vendetta gunship targets the Hive Crone, but the Hive Crone, in a display of aerobatic agility, jinks and is not wounded. The huge squad, or the remnants of the huge squad of Imperial Guardsmen, once again targeted the Hive Tyrant with a hail of las gunshots, but he must have the measure of them. There were far less hits than the first volley in turn 1, and he remains unwounded this turn. The plasma gun squad targeted the Raveners that are closing in on them and the veterans. One more guardsman died due to his malfunctioning plasma gun, but the veterans managed to bring down 2 Raveners with their fire from their melter guns and their las cannon. The autocannon teams joined in targeting this brood of Raveners, and another Ravener fell to their hail of heavy caliber shots. But there are a lot of Tyranids moving into this outpost, and the guard are being slowly whittled down. Let's see if the Morlock turns up again at the start of Tyranid turn 3. Beginning of Tyranid turn 3, but before the Tyranids can scuttle any further through the barricade defence lines, the base commander orders a pair of buried explosive charges to be detonated. They go off right in the heart of the huge swarm of gaunts, taking out 14. Quite a shock for the Tyranids at the start of their third turn, but they will proceed with their movement phase. End of Tyranid movement phase turn 3, and the Morlock has reappeared. He has burst up from underneath the veteran squad holding this bunker, and he devoured 2 veteran guardsmen as he did so. The Raveners on the far left of the Tyranid line have moved up, and they are scrabbling desperately to climb this watchtower building now and get at the autocannon teams, while the Tervigon lumbers along behind the Raveners to keep them obedient. All the gaunts have come skittering through the barricade line, commanded by the Trigon Prime, and they are going to try and add the weight of their fire to take out as many guardsmen as they can. The Hive Tyrant has dropped down. He is gliding now, and he is preparing to unleash the miasma cannon once again on this unfortunate combined squad of guard infantry. And the hive crone. Jinked last turn, so he will be firing snapshots, but he is going to try and target the Vendetta with a couple of tentaclids. See if they can do a couple of hull points. And the final brood of Raveners have moved up, and they want to tear the veteran guard squad to pieces. Going in to Tyranid, turn 3, shooting phase. End of Tyranid, shooting phase, turn 3, following a very uneventful psychic phase where the Hive Tyrant attempted to cast Dominion, but it was denied. The Gaunts and the Hive Tyrant and the Trigon Prime all opened up on the big combined squad of guard, as usual, and cut down a lot more of them. There's still a few left in front of the bunker and behind, and they still have their crazy book-wielding priest with them as the company commander looks on from the parapet. Fire from this squad of Gaunts, and the Tervigon wiped out the plasma gun squad that was next to the veterans, who look like they don't have very long left to live as the Raveners close in. And on the far side, these Raveners are preparing to tear the autocannon teams apart. The Hive Crone attempted to target the Vendetta with a pair of tentaclids, but after his aerobatic jinking in the previous turn, both of his living missiles went astray. Still, the guardsmen are really struggling now. They do not have much left at all, and at the end of this assault phase they may have even less, given that the Trigon Prime and these Gaunts may well be attempting an assault as well. Going into Tyranid, turn 3, assault phase. End of Tyranids, assault phase, turn 3, and the Raveners scaled the watchtower, tore the autocannon teams to shreds, but not before the autocannon teams gunned down one of the wounded Tyranid beasts. The Raveners in the central bunker slammed into the veteran squad. The veterans managed to do 2 wounds on the Raveners with their bayonets, but the Raveners dragged down 4 veterans. The remaining guardsmen tried to retreat, but the Raveners were too quick and tore them to pieces. And the Trigon Prime and the Gaunts that have been with him for the whole game made it into assault with the big guard infantry squad and pulled down 14 guardsmen, leaving only the priest alive, but he in return hacked down a pair of termagants. He is filled with the fervour of the Emperor. He will not retreat. But the bad news for the guard is the only humans left on the table now are the crazy priest and the base commander, who's still looking on in dismay from the parapet of his bunker. The Vendetta pilots have decided that the best thing they can do is to zoom in low and attempt to rescue their commanding officer. At the end of the Tyranid's third turn, it is safe to say that this base is well and truly overrun. The Guard really do have no hope. Still, it was a very thematic battle. The Tyranids have achieved a total victory. It's a very difficult scenario for the defenders, especially when the attackers start so close to them. But we've decided that the base commander will live another day. The Vendetta, at great risk, has set down on the roof of this bunker, and the colonel has leapt across and embarked, and it will take off and fly off into the sunset, doubtless to bring back some Imperial Guard reinforcements to deal with these Tyranids. The colonel wants revenge for all of his men that have been torn to pieces, but in order to allow him to get away, the priest has charged at the Trigon and will hold off the huge hideous monster and the swarm of gaunts whilst the base commander makes his escape. The priest's name, whatever it is, will go down in the histories of this planet as a hero of the Imperium. But this game is certainly over, and the Tyranids did a very effective job of wiping out the Guard. The Guard had a couple of bad volleys of las guns. The Hive Tyrant could well have gone down, and so could the Hive Crone, but their second shooting phase was very, very disappointing, and that really is what has allowed the Tyranids to dominate this game, difficult as it is for the defenders in this scenario. The Colonel will be back. Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel, and we will continue to bring you as many Warhammer 40,000 battle reports as we can. See ya!